Hi, my friends. Today, we turn to one of the most intriguing civilizations ever described, Atlantis. For centuries, it has stirred both wonder and doubt. This is not speculation, but a careful reconstruction based strictly on the ancient accounts that survived. Today, we're not exploring fantasy. We're reconstructing Atlantis, based strictly on ancient sources.
Everything we know about Atlantis comes from a single man, the Greek philosopher Plato. He describes it in two of his works, Timaeus and Critias. And here's what makes this unusual. Plato doesn't present Atlantis as a myth. He claims the story came from Egypt, passed down to the Athenian lawgiver Solon, who heard it from priests in the city of Sais. And this is where things get strange, because Plato's description of Atlantis is far too detailed to feel like pure invention.
So the first question is, where was Atlantis located? The accounts of this lost world are truly intriguing. But was it real or just a philosopher's tale?
Plato gives a surprisingly precise answer. He says Atlantis lay beyond the Pillars of Heracles, what we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. In other words, outside the Mediterranean Sea. That places Atlantis somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. But there's an important detail many people miss. Plato describes it as a massive island, larger than Libya and Asia combined. In ancient terms, that means something enormous. This wasn't just a city, it was an entire civilization.
But the most fascinating part is not where Atlantis was. It's what it looked like. Plato describes the capital of Atlantis with almost architectural precision.
At its center stood a hill, the place where the god Poseidon was said to have lived with a mortal woman named Plato. And according to the story, Poseidon transformed the landscape itself. He created a series of concentric rings around the hill. A ring of land, a ring of water, then land again, then water again. Several alternating circles in total. This isn't just symbolic. Plato gives actual measurements: the width of the canals, the distances between rings, the scale of the layout. And more importantly, these rings were connected by navigable channels. Ships could move through the city. This was a civilization built around water, a kind of ancient engineered metropolis.
And this is where it gets even more intriguing. Because Atlantis wasn't just advanced, it was incredibly rich.
Plato describes the materials used by the Atlanteans. One of them stands out, a mysterious metal called orichalcum. He claims it was second only to gold in value and used to cover walls, temples, and important structures. The city was adorned with gold, silver, ivory. The temples were enormous. The main temple of Poseidon housed a massive statue of the god standing in a chariot, pulled by 6 winged horses. This wasn't just a settlement. This was a highly developed culture with immense resources.
But Atlantis wasn't just wealthy, it was powerful.
According to Plato, Atlantis ruled over vast territories. Its influence extended across multiple islands, parts of Europe, and even North Africa. It had a powerful navy and a formidable army. And then something happened. Atlantis turned its attention toward conquest.
And this is where the story becomes something more than a legend. It becomes a conflict.
Plato describes ancient Athens as the complete opposite of Atlantis. If Atlantis represented wealth and power, Athens stood for order, discipline, and virtue. And according to him, It was Athens that stood against the Atlantean expansion. Against all odds, Athens resisted. Plato insists this was not fiction, but a real event from a forgotten past.
And then everything changed. The great civilizations suddenly faced something unexpected. What destroyed Atlantis?
Plato's description of the end is brief, but chilling. He writes that in a single day and night, violent earthquakes and floods struck the island, and Atlantis sank beneath the sea, completely. After that, he says, the waters in that region became impassable, filled with mud and debris.
So here's the question that still haunts historians. Did Plato invent Atlantis, or was he preserving something he believed was real?
Modern scholars are divided. Some believe Atlantis was a philosophical allegory, a warning about pride and the so-called of powerful civilizations. Others search for real-world connections. One theory links the story to the Thera eruption and the destruction of the Minoan civilization. But one thing remains difficult to ignore. Plato's account is unusually detailed, structured, almost technical.
Maybe Atlantis was never just a place. Maybe it was a warning, a story about how even the most powerful civilization can vanish in a single night. But if it was real, then where is it now? And what else is still hidden beneath the ocean?